Thank you very much for being with me this afternoon. I'm going to explain a situation to you, a robbery and a murder, that is quite different. And here's who I want to introduce you to. This is Christian McDonnell. He's 44, and he is our victim of the robbery after he's our suspect in buying drugs, and he's the shooter of the robbery suspect. Are you confused? I'll try to clear it up. Now, we're able to use his name and his photograph because the Supreme Court just ruled recently that victims are eligible for identification irrespective of Marsy's Law, as long as we don't provide further information identifying how to contact them. So he, Christian McDonnell, calls Robert Crusetta to buy some marijuana. Now, I continue to hear that marijuana is this low-level, nonviolent crime. I think you'll understand it's anything but at the conclusion of this. So Christian McDonnell calls his drug dealer, Robert Crusetta, and says, hey, I want to buy 1/8 of an ounce of marijuana. And he says, no problem, I'll meet you. Well, they often do business together. Robert is also an Uber driver. So he drives to the motel, the Trop.
Images ahead, just to warn you, from Kenya, where authorities are investigating the alleged killing of 4 people at a pineapple farm owned by U.S. food corporation Del Monte. Officials say the bodies, which have been retrieved from a nearby river, show signs of torture. The plantation security guards are suspected of brutally killing the men who were allegedly trying to steal pineapples. One of the victims' relatives told us it's not the first time people have died at sites owned by the American corporation.
We believe the Del Monte guards tortured them until they died. Del Monte is a very well-known company, and it is mostly associated with the killing of young men in this region. This company has more power than us and believes it's above the law. If you file a lawsuit, nothing will happen because they spend a lot of money just to buy justice. The government should ensure the perpetrators are brought to trial. If the victims had violated the law, the company could have arrested them instead of killing them. Our government tried to fight colonialism, but we Kenyans continue to suffer at the hands of companies like Del Monte.
Well, Del Monte has denied any wrongdoing and claims its guards were simply trying to prevent the plantation from being looted.
Del Monte Kenya is cooperating with Kenyan authorities as they continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the 4 bodies retrieved from the Thika River last week. The post-mortems are still underway. Our security footage from when the men attempted to steal pineapple shows no foul play on Del Monte's part and instead shows them running away towards the river, after dropping bags of stolen pineapple, as they tried to run away from security guards.
Del Monte is the world's top supplier of Kenyan crops and employs around 6,000 people in the African nation. The U.S. firm's guards have previously been accused of killing people at its farms. That's according to reports by UK media outlet The Guardian and the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, NGO. Human rights groups have also cried foul over the American corporation's conduct in Kenya.
There has been real misery that is caused by this farm to local community members. It's important that someone who is buying these pineapples knows about the allegations of violence connected to the farm.
The relationship between the locals and Del Monte is not pleasing at all. There has always been a lot of conflict. There has been a lot of, critical human rights abuses, cases of rapes, cases of brutality against our people by these multinationals, and more so they use their guards who guard the pineapple around the farm.
Tropicana Resort on Highway 27, just south of Interstate 4. And he meets with Christian McDonald, who drives his vehicle there. Kristen arrives. You'll see it on a video clip that we provide to the news stations. He arrives, and he gets in the right front passenger side of the vehicle where they negotiate the drug deal. Okay? What Christian does not know that prior to Robert arriving to meet and negotiate and ultimately sell him drugs, he brought Harold Cruz there as well. He dropped Harold Cruz off at a convenience store maybe a couple 300 yards away. So Harold is hanging out at the convenience store. Robert meets our victim, and they negotiate an eighth of an ounce of marijuana for $140. So during this conversation, Harold Cruz arrives and jumps in the right rear passenger seat. And when he does, he sticks a gun to the back of Kristen McDonald's head and starts hitting him with it. Newsflash, it's not really a gun, it's a fake gun. He took a screwdriver and a piece of wood, and he made this fake gun that he's hitting our victim in the back of the head and threatening to shoot him. Now, at this time, while Harold has the fake gun, Kristen McDonald makes a statement, hey man, I've got kids, it's Christmas time, don't do this. Because Harold is demanding the marijuana, and he's also demanding cash. Robert, the driver, the drug dealer, is saying nothing. Our victim, Kristen McDonald, reaches into his pocket, pulls out a 9mm handgun, and shoots over his head like this into the back seat. Well, listen, this guy's really good. He shot 10 times, hitting Harold Cruz. Well, we've counted 12 holes. Some of them can be entrances and exits. So he shoots 10 times, killing Harold Cruz. One of the 12 shots hits Cruz dead in the center of the forehead. That's what you call DRT. Then Kristen and Robert jump out of the vehicle, and they start making up a story. And in the midst of this, Robert gets back into the car, and he grabs the marijuana, the identification of our suspect in the robbery, Harold Cruz, this fake gun, and throws it over the fence near the motel. Deputies arrive. Kristen has called 911 and says, hey, somebody tried to rob me and I shot them. So right now, at this point in time, it certainly appears, even though he was committing a crime by buying a small amount of marijuana, he certainly was the victim of a pre-planned robbery by his drug dealer and his drug dealer's buddy. So while our robber is dead, Robert is charged with second-degree murder, felony murder, and 9 additional charges. Kristen, from the early stages of the investigation, appears to be a victim and has been released to go home. So he's not charged. The investigation's underway. We have the gun, and as you can see, there's a small amount of blood on the fake gun where he was holding it when he was shot by the victim, a la the shooter. So that's confusing, but it's a hard way to learn a lesson about, one, you shouldn't be dealing in drugs. That'll get you a second-degree murder charge. Two, your buddy can get shot and killed in the back seat of your vehicle trying to rob somebody in a pre-planned robbery. And three, McDonald, who just thought he was going to score a small amount of marijuana, has now murdered someone. And that very well may stay justifiable or stand your ground, but that's still under investigation. He was not arrested. Are there any other questions? That's about as clear as I can make it. So, at the end of the day, Harold, who's also an Uber driver and a robber, won't be home for Christmas. And interestingly enough, Robert says, well, what's my bond? There's no bond. You won't be home for Christmas. You'll be in jail. It's a sad situation to think that you died over trying to rob a guy for $140 and a little bit of marijuana. And oh, by the way, his buddy who drove him there had $900 in his pocket. So if our robber, Harold Cruz, who was, they said, as the information came to us, was high on drugs that night and needing to hit a lick for a quick fix, if his buddy had just loaned him $100, he'd still be alive today. So while Robert had $900 in his pocket, he sat there while Harold got shot over $140 and 1/8 of an ounce of marijuana. Crazy, just totally crazy. Okay?
Sheriff, I
Yeah.
have one question.
Yes, ma'am.